So it's Saturday. Right now, Bitcoin is down 0.87% as we're in the Saturday session. Many more hours before the Saturday session ends. But look at what's happening. The 10-period moving average is now starting to curl back up. If we can rally back up and get above the 20-period, we can go back to challenge this trend line, trying to test our 50 and our 100-period moving average. So Bitcoin down almost 1%. On Friday, we were down 3.5%, turning down off of our 20-period moving average. If we establish another higher low, then maybe we're going to build momentum to be able to clear this area. If we clear this high, we'll be breaking that trend line. So this is what I'm going to be watching as we go into next week. Looking at the Sunday close and the Monday bar, can we move above the 20 period? The 10 period moving average is curling up, so this is a good sign. But again, getting a lot of choppiness. There's a lot of negativity. People are throwing fits. The people that told us to sell off, I told you back over here with this topping tail with inauguration day, we went up and we hit my trend line of resistance again. We hit the trend line over here. We hit the trend line in the weekly time frame here. And I told you we have another top and Bitcoin was going to pull back. Bitcoin's dropped 28.5%. People throw a little fit now. I was right about the top. I was right about the sell-off. Went a little bit lower than I thought. I thought the January low would probably hold, but my signals have remained bearish, and we took out that low and we tried to bounce surrounding our 200-period moving average. We'll see if we can now get back above the 20. We drop back below the 10. If you get back above the 10 and 20 and the 10 starts curling up, then you could challenge the trend line and test that 50. The 50 is a green line. The 100-period is the pink line. Now, Bitcoin follows the 100-period moving average. So the fact that we're below it, like what we had in 2024 between March and the August low, you had Bitcoin dropping below the 100, then getting back above it. Do we have the same thing here? So we got to get back above that 100 period, which is, again, going to take us, if we get above it, back above this 100,000 area here. We got to be able to clear the 100,000 area in order to go back and challenge the 109,000 high. So this is where we're at. We'll be watching, see if we get it back above the 10 and 20 period to see if the choppiness gives us a tradable bottom. Again, I think we have a leading diagonal. It looks that way. Watch the video all the way through and you'll see what I'm talking about. Bitcoin has two areas we got to be able to clear. You got to be able to clear the trend line and get us back above the 95,000, 94, 95,000 area. You got to be able to clear that 94, 95,000 area. And then we got to be able to get above the 100,000 area. We got to be able to clear this resistance right here. And again, we could break out and go just above 100,000 and backtest, or we can break out and come up to just under 100,000 and backtest. But I think you got a possible leading diagonal. Watch the video all the way through. But again, we got to flip things back to bullish here. You got to flip things back to green here, and we've got red going on. So you got to be able to clear this trend line and flip that around. We did get a bullish signal here after testing the 200 period. If this plays out again, we tested the 200 again right here, got a higher low at least so far. So again, if we can turn it around, get another higher low, we got to be able to break the downward trend line, got to be able to get back above 94, 95,000 to go and try to challenge 100,000. Surrounding our 200 period moving average, we are getting some bullish bottoming signals here. So again, we've got to get another higher low, and then we've got to be able to come up and take out the high and take out the trend line to zoom the advance. That's what needs to happen. Now the signals here are regarding momentum. So again, could this just be a bounce? Ends up failing, or more likely, do we bottom surrounding our 200 period? The S&P and NASDAQ are at their 200 period moving averages, trying to bounce at NASDAQ closed on Friday just under it. S&P closed just above it, getting bottoming tails, getting hammer candlesticks there, very similar to the bottoming tail here and the bottoming tail over here for Bitcoin. Do we see Bitcoin have this level hold and try to break the downward trend line? So that's what I'm going to be watching. please support the channel with the link directly below. That allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like the charts, you like the indicators, let me know that by supporting the channel. Take a moment to do that. I would appreciate it. I don't have any sponsors. I don't want to send you to exchanges that want you to get you all leveraged up to wipe you out. There's a lot of things, shady deals on the internet. I don't want to sell you anything. So I just ask that you take a moment to partner with me. Do what you can to help out. Follow the link below to take you to a secured site. You can donate any amount you want. If you do that, I thank you. Make sure you watch the video all the way through. Now here's my Elliott wave count, and again, I believe that we have new all-time highs coming for Bitcoin, but then I think it will peak. I think it will probably end up disappointing a lot of people because people are expecting it to go much, much higher than what it's likely going to do because people get unrealistic expectations. We're likely going to get this final push up into the upper channel line. And again, I think we've completed intermediate wave 4 over here. I think we have these 5 waves higher. I think we have 1 here. I think we have 2 here. I think this whole thing is 3. I think we now have this 4. And then I think we're now about to get 5. And again, some of the measurements that I have taken with Fibonacci extensions could take us up into this 35,000, or pardon me, 135,000, maybe 140, possibly as high as 145,000. But again, I'm looking for this move higher into that area. It will be the trend line being reached of the upper channel that I've been talking about. Bitcoin has gone nowhere. We've gone sideways and then had a flush out move. We've gone sideways and now get this flush out move and then move back into the trading range here. We're trying to anyways, bouncing off our 200 period moving average. So again, the consolidation, and we saw the same thing over here. We had this flush out move, and right there we had we had this flush out move where we went lower, but then we clawed our way back into the trading range and eventually broke out of it. And I think you have something very similar to that right here, where you have this flush out move here towards our Fibonacci area here, the retracement of this previous move, and the 200 period moving average. So this is what I think is going on. It looks like we have a leading diagonal for our first wave, which is a series of 3s, and you get overlap. You can have overlap with that leading diagonal. I'll show it to you up close in just a second. This is the daily chart right here. This is what I think is going on. Here's a weekly chart for Bitcoin. This is the channel line that I've been talking about. This is my target right here. It's not a number. It's not a date. It's the trend line. Bitcoin makes beautiful channels. I believe we're headed back up to this upper boundary of this channel, and that's where I think Bitcoin's likely going to peak, and it is an agreement with my Elliott wave count. That's where I think we're headed for the final phase of the blow off top. Now, again, people's patience are tried because we take our time doing what we're going to do. But again, that flush out move, look at this. We've had this flush out move, okay, right here. Flushing out the weak hands. Had it over here. This flush out move where we flush out. Really, we almost had 2. If you really want to include that first push down and then the second push down, we really kind of moved out of this trading range a couple of times. But you had this flush out move clearly had this flush out move with the low there at, what was it, 49,000. And then this followed. So I think you're going to see something similar to that. Back over here, we came back to the lower end of the trading range for a test. But in each of those cases, each of those consolidations, you went back to the lows for a test. And in 2 of the cases, you had this flush out move where you flushed out the weak hands and then you rebounded back up. So again, that's what I think is likely the case. You're getting a flush out move and you're going to get this push higher up into the upper channel. Now, just quickly, in the weekly time frame, again, I believe that we have the completion of primary wave 4 right here. I believe you have 1, 2, 3, 4 intermediate waves done. We're in intermediate wave 5, and intermediate wave 5 is going to complete primary wave 5, and it's unfolding the intermediate wave 5 in 5 minor waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's what I think is going on. Now, depending on when we reach this trend line, you could reach it quickly. You can be at 135 to 140,000. If you take your time reaching it, it can go a little bit higher. But right here, again, looking at maybe as high as 140 to 145,000, depending on when we come into contact with it. Again, a date is not my target. A number is not my target. This trend line is my target. And when we reach it, that is where I believe Bitcoin will top. Over here, we went sideways. We didn't reach it. We fell short of it. So again, it's likely we're still going to reach it. And that's why I still think the bullish phase is not yet done. I think it's going to be followed by the bearish phase where we're going to peak. And then you're going to see the bottom fall out of Bitcoin, and you're going to get this ABC move that's likely going to take you into 2026 in the summer or fall of 2026. But you're going to come back down and take out this low over here at 15,000. And there's a major trend line of support right there. There's a major trend line of resistance up here. My channel here that we've been looking at is in a larger channel going back to the 2018 sell-off, the bear market back then after we peaked in 2017. We bottomed out and then we rallied up, and then we had the sell-off surrounding the pandemic, and we got this higher low. And this is what really began that new bull phase, the bull market after that bear market in 2017 and 18. Take a trend line, you connect those levels, and you draw a parallel boundary up here with our first 2021 high, and again, it's pointing up into this area. We could overthrow it a little bit and reach this upper channel, but it's an area of interest that I'm watching because, again, this larger channel. Then I think you're coming back down to the lower end of this channel right over here. I think you'll be coming back and hitting this trend line and taking out the 15,000 low just a little bit and bottoming out there, and I think that'll be the next bear market right there to complete a massive ABC correction. Oh, that's not possible. We're going to have a recession. It's very, very possible that that is going to happen. Bitcoin has never been through a actual recession where the stock market tanks. We had a major sell-off of 35% on the S&P 500 during pandemic, and Bitcoin dropped 71% back over here in 3.5 weeks. But it hasn't been through a period. Bitcoin's never been through a period where we've had a real recession. Recession with the pandemic was papered over so much with the stimulus checks and Fed. We never had the bear market with the S&P. We dropped more than 20%. Really? Is that the shortest bear market in history of 3.5 weeks of a 30? It was part of the larger bull cycle. So was Bitcoin. Is this a bear market, the shortest bear market in history for Bitcoin? Okay, no. The bear market ended over in 2017 and 18. This is part of the new bull cycle. It's part of the new bull market there. Before we went higher, it was a pullback in the larger cycle, and same with the S&P 500. So we've never had a legitimate bear market that's been associated with a recession with Bitcoin, where we see the stock market, drop 50% or more. We've never seen that in Bitcoin's history. We've been through one recession that was not associated with the bear market with the S&P 500. So again, the next recession we get, which we're going to get it, all the recession signals are flashing, Bitcoin is likely going to have a wrecking ball taken to it. All this baloney about a soft landing, the recession indicators are flashing. People can ignore them. This time it's different. I've been through that over and over again at every single topping process. This time it's different. This time, they're saying AI. Well, we've seen what's recently happened to NVIDIA. It's had a lot of volatility. The same thing about the .com stocks. That they were all weeded out. That's why, like all these altcoins, you've got a bunch of garbage. It's kind of like the small caps. Think of it this way. every single bear market, you get the small caps, the Russell 2000, which you have what's called zombie companies. With the bursting of the dot-com bubble, we saw the zombie companies, that these companies that just survive by debt, that they shouldn't even be on exchanges, they're weeded out. And you're going to see the same thing with all the weak coins. Shouldn't be on the exchange. They're going to be weeded out. You're going to see a boatload of them fall by the wayside, and that's what happens. And we're going to see a great downsizing of all the amount of cryptocurrencies. We're going to see these weaker altcoins being removed, and that's what happens with bear markets. It happens with the Russell stocks, with the zombie companies. It happened with the .com stocks. It's going to happen here. You're going to see it happen. And I remain bullish on Bitcoin. I think we go higher, and I think we're coming up to this channel, but then I think we're going to see this happen. And again, my target level is down over here at this trend line. Whenever we reach that, we could reach it by mid to late 2026. But here, I think you're going to reach this level in the not too distant future, but then I think you're going to top. So the larger channel, in the smaller channel, in the larger channel, and again, Bitcoin makes beautiful channels. It really does. So it's highly probable that we come up here to that upper channel line, because that's often the case. Now, we may fall short of it a little bit and just reach this trend line right here and not quite reach it. Very, very possible. Over here, we didn't quite reach my lower channel right here. So again, very, very possible. Very possible that one of these trend lines acts as resistance, either this one right here, the parallel channel here, or the upper boundary here. But those are my target levels. Either way, both of them take Bitcoin to new highs, okay? And again, I've got some Fibonacci extension levels here. The 135,000 area, 136,000 areas of area of interest. If we reach this trend line right here, and again, if we go a little higher, you might be going into 140, maybe 145,000, something like that, a little bit higher there, just eyeballing it, where we might come into play. Now, here's my count up close, and I want to show you what I think is going on. I think we have a leading diagonal. It looks that way anyways to me, okay? Over here is our wave 3, and then we've got our wave 4 down over here, okay, at our lows, where we bounced out the 200-day moving average. We had the White House Crypto Summit. Bitcoin went down, didn't really mixed reaction. Some people excited about that, and we had the day before the summit, we had the signing of the executive order for a crypto strategic reserve. Again, mixed reactions. There's some disappointment about that, saying it didn't go far enough. Others excited about it. Whatever you think about it, whatever. Again, I think that we're getting a leading diagonal. So there was a little bit of a mixed reaction to that. People are still very, very bearish. When we start breaking out of the downward trend line right here, I think we're going to really start seeing sentiment begin to start to change once we get this first push up right here above the trend line. I think once we move back up towards 100,000 and then eventually get back above it, or get above it, maybe pull back, I think that some of the negativity might start going away. But people, again, the herd, they get very, very bearish surrounding bottoms. Very, very. They were bullish up here, okay? Back in January, I called a peak on Inauguration Day because we had that reversal bar of 8%. We rallied up, we got a reversal bar, and it was correct. We ended up dropping. Done a little bit lower than I thought. I was looking for that January low that I called to likely hold. We went a little bit lower than that, but my signals have remained bearish. And again, it's a flush out move like I've been talking about. Here's the deal. This looks like to me, and I'm going to bring this up a little closer so you can see it, but I wanted you to see this is what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to push up through the trend line, and we can see that possibly next week. I think we're going to push up through the trend line. Maybe we drop back below it or back test it or something. But again, if we do have a leading diagonal, there could be overlaps, and that's why, again, we could push back up below the peak right here with the pullback for 4 in this 5-leg structure higher, there can be overlaps, and that's what a leading diagonal is. It's in sections of 3, and there can be overlaps, but that's what I think is going on. But I think you're going to try to push above the trend line, maybe dance around it a little bit, and then eventually, get a back test with it. So I think you get a wave 1, a wave 2, and then I think you're going to get your wave 3 going on up in here, wave 4, and then 5, and reaching my trend line that I've been talking about. And again, also, if depending on where we reach, and again, if we go higher and then pull back, these target levels will be based on performance. So if we perform better, might be a little bit higher, but if it isn't, might be a little bit lower. But right now, this is where I think we are headed. Let me just bring this up close now that you can see the breakout of the trend line. And let me just show you, this is what I think is likely going on. Look at this price structure. It looks like a series of 3s to me, ABC moves. And again, we could be currently having an A, a B, and then we could get a C up here, and then we can get, an ABC move back down for 4. That could be 3, 4, and then we can get 5. And again, a leading diagonal could be under construction right here. That is certainly possible. And then the ABC move back to back test or something, and then we go back up and we move to try to move towards our trend line. So this is what I think could be a potential scenario here, is that I think that, again, a leading diagonal. But with all the choppiness, it does look like a series of 3s to me are carving out here. So again, if we get a big push up next week, and again, we're seeing the NASDAQ hit a major trend line. Bitcoin was just above it. Now this count would get invalidated if we go back and try to take out these lows here. Now the support zone is right here. So we'll be watching. If we can hold above this area, then again, I think you can go and try to break the downward trend line. So that's what I think is going on with Bitcoin. You have a possible leading diagonal here, a possible leading diagonal in a series of 3s that could give us a breakout of the downward trend line, take us back above 100,000 eventually, and get us back up to the potential target area, which is the upper boundary of my channel. Are you picking up what I'm throwing down?